In 1974, two psychologists, Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman, conducted a study using a rigged Wheel of Fortune that always landed on either 10 or 65. Participants were first asked to spin the wheel. Following that, they were then asked, what was the percentage of African nations in the United Nations? The average answer for participants who spun 10 on the wheel was 25%, whereas the average answer for participants who spun 65 was 45%. Results revealed that the estimates were close to the initial value they have gotten. Even though the supposedly random numbers of 10 and 65 were totally irrelevant, participants were still affected by these values, as it seems as though the participants were using these numbers they have got as a starting point and adjusting their answer to a acceptable range from there. Hence, the two psychologists named this as the anchoring and adjustment effect. A formal definition of the anchoring and adjustment effect would be that when an arbitrarily chosen reference point is initially chosen, it will significantly influence values estimates, generally shifting away from the reference point towards the true value, but with insufficient adjustment. This was demonstrated in the Wheel of Fortune study and in many more experiments. But why were people even affected by the random numbers coming from the Wheel of Fortune? To answer this question, we need to first understand that the anchoring and adjustment effect is actually a heuristic, an inbuilt mental shortcut to the human brain that helps people make quick and efficient judgment by reducing mental effort and simplifying complex questions. In this case, the anchoring and adjustment heuristic help us make decisions when we are either uncertain or when we don't possess prior knowledge to warrant a logical decision. But it's also a problem because it sometimes draws on irrelevant information to make a decision. Thus, in the Wheel of Fortune study, participants' minds were using the numbers from the wheel and then adjusting from those values till they found it acceptable. Hence, the heuristic can be abused by others to manipulate people's decisions, and we will show you some examples later on. Both psychologists were unable to agree on the exact process in which the anchoring heuristic functioned. Tversky was leaning towards anchoring as a conscious adjustment, while Kahneman hypothesized that anchoring affects our decision-making subconsciously, which is also known as priming. Today, we now know that both of these processes are true. Anchoring effect has been shown to occur under multiple mechanisms, and one of it is adjustment mechanism. Adjustment is a conscious process that occurs as a response to estimating uncertain quantities, an operation of System 2. It happens when you start mentally moving higher or lower from an anchoring number, until a point where you are no longer certain whether you should move any further. This point then becomes your estimated answer. However, in most cases, this adjustment is often insufficiently adjusted. This can be attributed to a weak or lazy System 2, whereby your mental resources become depleted as a result of cognitive load or under the influence of alcohol. Of course, other factors such as time pressure can also affect your adjustment. To show you the effects of adjustment, let's do an activity together. Pause the video and go and find a piece of A4 paper and a pen. First, I want you to draw a line on the right side that is 5 cm long, starting from the bottom of the page. Do not use a ruler. Now, flip the paper around and draw a line from the top of the page until the line is 5 cm away from the bottom. Same thing here, do not use a ruler. Now that you're done, fold the piece of paper and compare the lines. Most likely, your first estimation of 5 cm is shorter than your second estimation. The reason why this happens is that you do not know what a 5 cm line looks like. There is uncertainty. When you started from the bottom of the page, where the bottom is your anchor, you stopped nearer to the bottom of your area of uncertainty. And when you started from the top, you stopped nearer to the top of your area of uncertainty.
Now, in the real world, you have probably come across promotional sales that impose limits on your purchase of the specific products being promoted. Did you know that putting a limit on the number of products purchasable per customer actually drives larger purchasing habits? How does one go about limiting purchases to get more purchases? Let me introduce to you the Soup Can Study by Brian Wansink. In this study, supermarkets were selling Campbell's canned soup at the same prices. However, the independent variable was the limit set on the number of purchasable soup cans. In the first scenario, there were no limits on customer purchase. In the second, there was a purchase limit of 4 cans per customer, and in the third, a purchase limit of 12 cans. Now, make a quick guess under which scenario did the supermarket manage to sell the most number of cans. If your answer was a purchase limit of 12, you are correct. The results actually showed that on average, customers who had a purchase limit of 12 purchased 7 cans, as compared to 3.3 for customers with no limit and 3.5 for customers with a limit of 4. From this study, it shows that a higher purchasable limit provides an anchor that is insufficiently adjusted downwards. Additionally, it shows that quantity limits provide more incentive for customers to purchase more due to the perceived scarcity of the product.
Another mechanism is the priming mechanism, which occurs as a non-conscious increase in sensitivity towards certain concepts and associations. This is an automatic manifestation of the System 1 process model. So basically, when information is first exposed to you, the priming effect automatically activates compatible information stored in your mind, making you more susceptible to believe strongly in the relation between the information presented and that in your mind. This results in biases. To further illustrate this, we have conducted a field study.
Can you just take a short glance through this article? How much do you think the average price of a Swiss watch is?
About 30,000.
3K?
Could go up to 10k.
Maybe 1,000 bucks.
200,000 yen.
Maybe 100 yen. 100 yen. 100. 1 million.
From our study, we see that primes evoke different information within the person. People primed with affordability associated the average price of a Swiss-made watch to be much more affordable, while people primed with expensive Swiss brands gave a much higher price.
Now you might think, anchoring would surely not work in professionals in real-life situations. However, the reality is that the effects of anchoring can be seen in many aspects of our daily lives. For instance, how would you appraise a property? Typically, we will look at several factors. The price that we're willing to pay is usually determined by the square footage, the number of bedrooms, the location of the place, as well as other additional features and considerations. But what if companies have been using anchors to manipulate the prices that we're willing to pay? Let's further examine one particular study. An experiment once presented real estate agents with an opportunity to assess the value of a house that was actually listed on the market. They were allowed to visit the house and study a comprehensive booklet of information, which included the asking price. Half the agents in the study saw an asking price that was significantly higher than the listed price of the house. A high anchor of 83,900 and a low anchor of 65,900 was used. Each agent then gave his or her opinion about a reasonable buying price for the house and the lowest price they would agree to sell it for. However, when asked if one of the factors that affected their decision was the asking price stated, the real estate agents said that it was not, and that they had chosen to ignore it. While they insisted that the listing price had no effect on their responses, the results proved that they were actually wrong. Their anchoring effect was found to be 41%. The professionals in this field were found to be almost as susceptible to the effects of anchoring as business school students with no real estate experience. Their anchoring effect was found to be just 48%. This suggests that the range of values given by a group of experts is actually pretty similar to the range given by a group of amateurs. The only difference was the students were okay with admitting to being influenced by the anchor, while the professionals were persistent in their denial. This simply goes to show that even professionals with their vast knowledge and expertise in their respective fields can be susceptible to the effects of anchoring.
Still not convinced by the studies done? Let's look at real-life examples where marketers use anchoring to make you purchase. So do you know that TWG is actually a Singapore brand? Now look, there's a number 1837 on the logo of the brand. Raffles only discovered Singapore in 1819. Does that mean that TWG was founded 18 years after Raffles?
Okay, so this is the TWGT logo. Okay. How old do you think TWGT is?
How old? Wait, is that a trick question?
It was founded in 1837. So about 100 plus.
100 plus, based on
100 plus.
Yeah.
Okay.
180 or so.
180 or so?
Yeah.
Alright.
What kinds of value do you perceive TWG to have? Value. Like high class.
More history.
Oh, very premium, very antique, very luxurious.
Looks very old and traditional.
Elegant. High sass. Yeah.
Actually, TWG was founded relatively recently in 2008. So the logo with the number 1837 actually represents the year Singapore became a trading post for tea. So this is just one of the ways where marketers actually position the brand to be traditional and has a long history to it, making it more prestige in the consumer's mind. There are also other various ways that marketers can use anchoring bias in your purchase decisions. So one of the ways actually is to include the original as well as the discounted price of their products. So take Zalora as an example. Here you can see that they displayed both the original as well as the discounted price of their apparels. So what Zalora is trying to do is to trick consumers into thinking that it's worth the buy after the discount. But honestly, do you actually have to pay $45.90 for the Lila dress in yellow?
That's some mafia work.
Another method will be to display monthly as well as annual plans. So a lot of companies are actually doing this. So take the screenshot for example. So this is by Fitness Keeper, where they have the monthly subscription of about $6 euros, and the other side is the yearly description of $23.98. So $23.98 might seem expensive for a subscription to an app, but price anchoring in this case makes the individual subconsciously look at the monthly cost and work out that the annual price is actually a really good deal in comparison.
Are you sure about that?
This actually eventually makes the annual plan seem like a bargain, which sees more consumers purchasing from the yearly plan instead of the monthly plan. And have you ever wondered why car dealerships put their most expensive models at the front of the store display room when they're typically the slower selling models? So this is because when you walk past a BMW that costs Euro 120k i8, suddenly the Euro 65,000k M5 doesn't seem to be that expensive anymore. Still not convinced by the effect of manipulating price perceptions? So here's a successful case study. So there's this restaurant in New York called Serendipity 3.
Serendipity 3.
So in 2011, this restaurant actually featured on their menu a foot-long all-beef hot dog served inside a toasted imported pretzel bun topped with dark foie gras, verdilla onions as well as black truffles. So for maximum price point escalation as well as, I guess, taste, the hot dog was actually grilled in truffle oil, and this was actually sold for $69. Anyone in the right mind wouldn't pay $69 for this, right? True enough, despite being listed as a Guinness World Record for being the most expensive hot dog in history, the sales of this ludicrous $69 hot dog weren't particularly impressive. However, the sales of their $17.95 cheeseburgers, a price that no one in their right mind would normally pay, actually sold. People are actually drawn to this place because of the hype, and they open their wallets because an almost $20 burger seems reasonable at a place that charged $69 for a hot dog. Another method that is done frequently by consumer tech brands is through price increases. So these brands do a great job in increasing the price of their products over the years, and a typical example would be Apple. So as you can see, from $699 for iPhone 8 to $999 for iPhone XS and $1,099 for 11 Pro Max. So with each progressive price hike, it actually makes it seem less significant to you because the previous model actually acts as a new anchor. So in this case, you'll be more inclined to get the iPhone 11 Pro Max because the difference between that and an iPhone XS is only an extra of $100. So now, are you mind blown that organizations have been using anchoring to deploy their marketing efforts? And what does this mean for consumers? So for consumers like you and me, since we have the heightened knowledge about this cognitive bias, we need to be more critical when we are exposed to advertisements and marketing efforts from brands and organizations. Through this peer teaching, we hope that you have gained a better understanding on the concept of anchoring and adjustment.